The Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is back in April with flatter and faster courses, more entertainment and an expanded expo. The full marathon is almost 80% sold out, so sign up today at ballaratmarathon.com.au to lock in your place on the start line. Welcome to episode number 4 of the Road to Ballarat podcast series, brought to you by Federation University and the Ballarat Marathon. We're back for episode number 4. Feels like forever ago since I was on this one, back in episode number 1 with Steve Montighetti, and I've enjoyed being a listener for the last couple of weeks. We have got the recording gear going, so it'll be one take only tonight. Not going to make the same mistakes my co-host Brad Croker made last week. And I'm so looking forward to hearing from 3 guests we got this week. I'll go with the first guest straight up, Jason, the regular. People are hanging on the edge of their seats to figure out how this foot niggle's going. Welcome to you for episode number 4.
Thank you, Brady. Yeah, it is drawing plenty of attraction around the world, getting comments on Strava and stuff about it. So it's good. Good that people are engaged and, checking up how I'm going.
That's good. And I'm going to keep them on the edge of their seats for another 20 minutes because we have a very big name guest joining us tonight, Jason. We've got the race director of the Ballarat Marathon, Adam McNicol. Welcome to the Inside Running podcast for the first time.
Oh, very, very great to be here. G'day, Brady. G'day, Jace.
It's good to have you too, Adam. And I always feel like race directors, I've interviewed a few. I think we've done partnerships with Gold Coast and Ryan McDonald up there. We've done some stuff with Sydney and Wayne Larden up there. And I always feel that race directors either in your face, like, look at me, I'm the boss of this thing, or they're completely behind the curtain and no one's ever heard of them before. And I think you're kind of like the second one, just like a smooth operator. No one may have heard your name before tonight, but I'm looking forward to introducing you to our audience.
No, thanks, mate. That's it. I'm happy to just be in the background making it happen for the moment and meeting the big dogs on the running scene when I get the chance.
Yeah. You're the most important guy, but you got the least biggest ego. Let's put it that way.
No, we've got to keep it that way.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, how you, tell us, how'd you get into this? Like, second year, I know we're just talking off air about a bit of a history in the AFL world, especially Collingwood Footy Club. I've got a feeling you've written some books and stuff too, haven't you? Did you co-write some books with some footballers?
I appreciate that. Well done. That's good research you've done there. Yeah. I actually did a journalism degree and worked for many years as a sport reporter at Channel 10. And during that time, got into writing books and actually got into ghostwriting footy players' autobiographies. I ghostwrote Jonathan Brown's autobiography, Steve Johnson's, David Schwartz's, and my favourite one, I ghostwrote Brendan Favola's autobiography, which, bit of a funny story, a rival unauthorised biography came out at the same time I was working on the autobiography of Fev. And a fun project, as you could imagine. Well, they decided to call Fev's book Brendan Favola in My Own Words. Now, not only did Fev not write it, he didn't even read it.
Not even a draft. Just said whatever you reckon, put it in there.
Which made my job a lot easier. So he's like, it'll be right, won't it? Too right, Fev. Off it went to the publisher. Happy days. So, yes. I did do quite a bit of book writing and I still do a bit from time to time.
I'm actually extremely embarrassed by this because I'll just put my camera down. I always put my microphone on top of a couple of books, and I've got 4 books that I've put my microphone on top of tonight. And actually one of them, it's a David Schwartz book, and your name is just sticking out. And it's the same 4 books that I put the microphone on every single episode. And I've only just realized now that, all bets are off. David Schwartz, read it years and years ago. Was pretty honest, like with always gambling problems and stuff like that in there back in the day. And I've only just clicked that now you're the same person who's on the spine of this book.
That's very cool. That was an amazing project to work on, by the way. I had to basically be like an amateur psychologist because, David Schwartz, for those who don't know, his father was shot in front of him when he was a kid. A crazy, crazy thing to happen when he was only 6 or 7 years old. And so part of the book was all these years later processing that trauma. So, that was an incredible project to be part of. And he's a brave guy. the Ox for everything he's been through.
So how do you find yourself now in the race director of Ballarat Marathon for your second year coming into it?
So it's a funny story. I was working at Collingwood right up to the pandemic. So I'd been in footy for 10 years, 5 at the AFL, 3 with Geelong Cats, and then I ended up as head of digital media at Collingwood. The pandemic came. I went through a process that lots of others would have, which was about 3 months into the pandemic, we were all on gardening leave, and it looked like everything was under control. We were all going back to work. We had a Zoom meeting with the Collingwood CEO, big all-staff meeting. He said, everyone's job's safe. Couple of weeks, you'll all be back at work. Happy days. Next minute, COVID got out of hotel quarantine, and we all got the sack. So that was classic. Or like everyone's job got made redundant. You got told to work double time on half the pay and move to Queensland or something crazy like that, which was pretty much what happened to me. So I decided, you know what, after 10 years, I needed to get out of footy. Ballarat, the city, had been really good to me. You know, I was able to buy a really nice house pretty cheap in 2008. So I had no mortgage. And so I thought to myself, I'm in a position to kind of do something crazy, to try something. And it just so happened that I'd taken up running with an old next-door neighbour of mine, Michael Hines, who works for the city of Ballarat. And when the pandemic came and there really wasn't much to do, and I was on gardening leave, we started running 4 and then 5 days a week. And then in early 2021, when everything sort of briefly went back to normal, even though the state borders were closed, you could do stuff again. We got ourselves fit enough to go down to the Ocean Road Running Festival and went down there and did the 14K. And afterwards, I'd never been in something like that before, and I'd grown up with footy, worked in footy, so combative, the sport, it's us against them, winners and losers, you know. I just thought, how cool is this afterwards? Like, Mono laughs because it was like, he says so many people do this when they take up running in midlife. They go to a running festival and they feel like they've just discovered it. Yeah. and I just couldn't believe the vibe afterwards, and everyone seemed happy. And I'm like, this is just not footy. Usually half the people are devastated. And on the way home back to Ballarat, I just said to Mick, imagine if we could create something like this in Ballarat. And that's literally where the idea started. So it's an idea that's come out of thin air, really. And I just happened to have the time and the craziness, as Mona says, Mona often says to me, you know, you weren't the first bloke to have the idea to start a marathon running festival in Ballarat, but you're the one who was just crazy enough or in the right place or whatever it is to just keep going. And so it took us 3 years to get it off the ground and just day by day grind. You know, the first time I went to visit Victoria to say this is what we want to do after we formulated the vision of the event, and the initial vision of the event is really what you see now. It was to create a world-class running festival in Ballarat, not a fun run. Love fun runs, love community running festivals. We wanted to create a massive event that was great for the community, but at a world-class level, at a Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast level. So kind of a crazy idea. But yeah, first time I went to visit Victoria, they pretty much sort of laughed at us, you know. But just day after day, week after week, we put it together. And obviously we had Mona. We had a beautiful course. We created some really strong branding. One thing led to another, and eventually I met a guy called Michael Hands, who had been event director for Run for the Kids many years ago, and he helped me unlock the government money to get the thing off the ground, and here we are. So it's literally one of those stories where you start with an idea and you just persist, and here we are today.
Yeah, it's so good. And then, like, what about from year 1 to year 2? Like, have there been challenges that have popped up this year that you're like, okay, we didn't expect that in the first year, or we thought we had that ironed out, and then stuff's kind of popped up? Like, how does it change with this? Is it way easier the second year around?
It's a really good question, because we've almost, from year 1 to year 2, rebuilt the whole event again. Like in year 1, all the budgeting was done off 2,500 participants, and that was done, you know, for good reason. The thing needs to be financially sustainable, and we had to find a way to get through that first year if only 2,500 people came. So obviously we did it on the smell of a not very oily rag, and you know, we took a lot of advice from a lot of experts who said, try and keep everything in check. But when we had 4,700 people turn up, we were stretched to the limit on the event weekend. So a lot of it's been hiring in more staff. Some of the people who worked on the event last year have gone to extra hours. There's just so many more processes behind everything. It was really a let's see. Like we put so much time into the preparation last year, but you just don't know. There's so many things you don't know. So I think by years 3 and 4, it will definitely start to get easier. But really, we learnt so much in year 1, and we now know with so many more people coming, we needed so many more staff, and just we've got new sponsors, we've got new relationships opening up with different levels of government, and also keeping the community on side. And the community of Ballarat's been fabulous, but it really has been almost more work than it was in year 1 all over again. And we're also putting that pressure on ourselves to make sure that the event gets better and that it lives up to the vision of those lofty aims we've set for it.
Yeah. And like 8.5 weeks out, as we kind of speak here, what does the role look like at the moment? Like, do you have different phases, like in the last, say, 20 weeks of, we got to do this between 12 and 8 weeks out, and this with 8 to 3 weeks out? And like, what's it look like day to day at the moment?
Well, it's funny you say that. Like, I might have that glorious title of event director, but the reality is that I was out with Jace at Fed Uni yesterday picking up banner mesh to take to our storage container. And then I was at Ballarat Coach Lines picking up their banner mesh and like chatting over a deal where they're going to use the Ballarat Airport shuttle bus is going to pick up all of our elite athletes at the airport and all of our staff and all this sort of thing. So there's no escaping getting your hands dirty, but I love that. The phases, it's a really good point. Particularly because for me, I'm having been head of digital media and with the media background, I run a lot of the marketing and the media side of it. So certainly in the back half of last year, it was a lot about how do we get as many registrations as we can as quickly as we can, including things like, pardon me, including things like signing up to get this podcast off the ground, and just doing like a whole range of marketing activity, from paid social media to having Cobber Stevens out doing his funny videos announcing our Running Warehouse partnership. So there's a lot of that, pre-Christmas, and even now it's still quite marketing heavy, the role, but now we really are swinging towards getting everything ready. So yeah, literally going and collecting banner mesh. We've got to go out in the next few days and spray paint the kilometre marker numbers around the course. So I spent 2 days with Poppy Stamatellis and Sam Wiltsey, who work for us now, going around the course in January with Dave Cundy's spreadsheet. If you know Dave, he's the preeminent course measurer in the world, just about. He came and remeasured the course for us, given the changes. So we've been out and we've taped every kilometre. I can promise you all that the kilometre markers will be much more accurate this year than they were last year. There's one thing we've needed to improve, but it is a real mix, particularly at the stage of the event build like this. Like, I realise I need to be able to delegate a lot more tasks as the event grows, but right now I'm right down in the nitty gritty of it, and we've kind of drawn a line under all the ideas. We've got an awesome crew. They've come up with a million and one ways we can make the event better, but any ideas are now pushed into the 2026 folder, and it's just about making 2025 as good as it can be.
Yeah, there we go, Jace, for the locals, the K markers. They're going to be there. Start getting some photos when you're out on your runs. Give us a look what they look like. Put it on your Strava. Tag us in.
I've seen one of them, yeah. Lakeview, like right out there, yeah.
Right out the front, there's a 10K. I think it's about the 8K and the 10K out the front of the Lakeview.
And then on entries as well, I crunched some numbers today because you did send through some data. I've got 492 bibs left for the marathon and 338 for the half marathon. This was as of about lunchtime though, so I guess that might be even a bit lower after the last couple of hours if a few have popped in. So getting very, very close to capacity.
It is. So we've got 333 spots left in the half marathon right at the minute, and 491 left in the full marathon. As you'd expect, the full has slowed right down, but there's still a trickle coming in there. So it'll be interesting to see, can we get to 3,000? Anything past that would be amazing. Or anything right now, all the numbers we have right now, absolutely amazing and kind of mind-boggling when you think of, how this event started and that we're only in the second year. But yeah, the cap for the half marathon is 3,500 and the cap for the marathon 3,300. So we're going to go very close to those numbers. I think the half will sell out in the next couple of weeks. There's no doubt about that. So if you think you're doing the half, sign up very soon.
Next week.
Get in now.
It's done next week. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like as well, there's some marathoners who will probably, similar to myself, just wanted to see how fit they could get, 8-9 weeks out before they actually do the entries. So I feel like there's a few people in that same boat. I know you've got to get organised and you probably want to know you're doing a marathon 12 or 16 weeks out, but there might be a few in that boat. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets close to capacity as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And nice to see you on the entry list, by the way. Excellent result there. But yeah, I've heard anecdotal evidence from a few other runners as well that they know of quite a few marathoners that are yet to sign up and that are sort of just seeing how their training's going and how they're feeling. So, yeah, ready for all of them to jump on board. And we'll see what happens once the half sells out as well. Obviously, the 10 will really take off then. So, and perhaps a few who were sitting on the fence will decide they might as well do the full.
Yeah, and there'll be some transfer stuff going on too, won't it? Some people who may be a bit injured for the full might drop down to the half, maybe the other way around. People who are thinking maybe I didn't think I'd be fit enough for a marathon that want to jump up as well. That's an option.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I've just signed up for the Gold Coast half and I got a transferred entry from someone else. And part of that was a strategic way to have a look at the way that transfer process works for Gold Coast, because I know they've been trumpeting this new way they're doing transfers. It was very, very smooth. So all credit due to Gold Coast. But yes, within Race Roster, our registration platform, you can absolutely swap up and down at the moment. Of course, once the half sold out, that's going to get trickier. You certainly won't be able to swap into the half until it will have a small release, no doubt, of people who've bailed. Their slots will come up in early April and we'll put them back up. But yes, you can. Right now, you're free to change your distance yourself in your registration, and you can pick from any distance for the minute.
Okay. Before we get to the highly anticipated elite fields, what are something that the participants should get excited about? Mono kind of hinted that there'll be a bit more entertainment on course, maybe some stuff around the lake as well. Kind of got any surprises up your sleeves for on course entertainment, or something to get pumped up about?
Absolutely. So we really want our event to be for the runners to come and feel like the event we went to every effort possible to make it the best event for them. And we're really, really genuine about that. So we've invested, a lot of time and a lot of money this year in making a lot of those elements of the event better. So we've got a brass band in one of the roundabouts over the back of the lake where it got quite lonely for people on the second lap last year. Of course, it won't be nearly as lonely this time with the numbers in the fields and the 10K going around the lake, which didn't go around the lake last year. So, but we've got about a dozen entertainment stations. We've even got the Red Bull DJ truck coming up. But we've got everything from grandmas playing ukuleles to DJ. There's a DJ in the roundabout in Vic Park, a young fellow who's going to punch out some tunes there. We've got music basically, the whole way round. And, we know where we sit in the pecking order in terms of, the world majors and then the Sydney, Gold Coast, Melbourne. But we're absolutely inspired by them. And we think, why can't a runner have as good an experience as they would have in Berlin, in Ballarat? Like, why not? And on a 2-lap course, it means we can cram a lot more entertainment around the course as well. So, yeah, we've doubled the budget for the on-course entertainment, and we've I think more than doubled the number of performers. So, yeah, we just want it to be heaps of fun. That's the thing. We know running a marathon's hard. Running any distance can be a serious challenge. So we just want people to have a lot of fun and feel like that the event has gone to a big effort to make the experience as good as it can be.
Yeah, no dull moments. Very good.
No doubt. Yeah.
Hey, let's get to this elite field because you were very generous. And I was telling you off air, I love the fact that you guys have shared this so early. It's one of my biggest icks when, big marathons don't share their elite fields until really late, because I think it's really important to get to know who the people are at the pointy end of the race and, hear a bit about their stories and stuff. So we might start with the women's, if that's all good.
That's all good. Yeah, no worries. And Brady, you'll know a bit more about a lot of these athletes than me, and I'm absolutely more than happy to say that. I've come from footy, and I'm I know Tom DeCanto and Ella McCartney, our winners from last year, but and your good self. But I'm still learning about a lot of these.
Tell me you know the whole podium from last year, not just the winners.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Well, this women's race, when I open the document today, it fascinates me. So I'll go through some names and I'll tell you why it fascinates me. Jace, I know you're a fan of running as well, so feel free to pipe up here as well. But Marnie Ponton is the fastest in the field with a PB of 2:31.54. However, did run the Port Fairy Marathon a couple of weeks ago where she ran 2:50. And I did hear some whispers that she's kind of training for Comrades Marathon again at the moment. So maybe jumping in local marathons is a part of her training. So I know that she's got that PB, and I could stand corrected. She could come out and run 2:30-ish at Ballarat Marathon. But what we're seeing recently is closer to 2:50. Then we got Kate Mason with a 2:34.08. Ellen McCartney, last year's winner, with a 2:38. Sarah Short, she's running 2:39. Gemma Griffin, 2:42. Sophie Fitt, she's one of our coaches that runs a PB, actually. She's got a 2:42. Miriam Dowie, a 2:44. Jessica Willis, a 2:48. And Lauren Reed.
Last year, by the way, Jessica.
Yeah. She's coached by a good friend of mine, Matty Davey, as well. So he's got the inside news on Jess. And then at the bottom, we've got Lauren Reed. Now, Lauren, this will be her debut, but her PB for a half marathon is 72.38, which is really impressive. But if you go deeper, you can actually see her 5K PB is 15.33, and she's also ran 32.23 for 10K. So in the little description here, it does say that it makes her, she's maybe a bit of a wild card. I think she's maybe the favourite, to be honest, because even if she's close to 72 shape, she's going to be going under 2 hours 30. And I think if you go under 2 hours 30, you can potentially win this race, which makes it exciting. Because that's
really cool.
Yeah,
and
there's a handful there as
question for you. One of the reasons we made the change to the course was not only to get rid of that bit of a hill coming from the bottom of Sturt Street up, which did make it tough for your 4-hour runners and the runners towards the back of the pack. But it's to create a real atmosphere. When the course does that final little dogleg into Lydiard Street and the U-turn and comes back out, we'd love to see 2 or 3 runners together head into that turn. And we'll have crowd right around that Lydiard Street U-turn, both sides of the street, and then the crowd all the way up to the finish gantry. Could we see that in the women's race?
We could. Remind me, with Lydiard Street, because I don't know the area that well, was that when we turned left off Sturt Street?
When you turn left.
That's Lydiard Street, yeah.
And then so last year you went into there and then went right around and then went into Camp Street right down to the bottom of the hill and came back up. This time you pop into Lydiard Street, you'll do a U-turn and like I say, there'll be a lot of people in there because we're trying to create that almost stadium finish, and you've got the beautiful streetscape in the background. We'd love to see a genuine race in the men's and women's and all women's into that stretch.
Be good, wouldn't it? Crowds both sides so they can see them going in both directions. Big, $6,000 first prize up for grabs. I'm actually thinking, my prediction is that someone listens to this podcast and hears this elite field and goes, you know what, $6,000, I might have to run 2 hours 28, 2 hours 29, and I can get a check for $6,000. So I've got 5 names written here.
Yeah.
And I reckon they may just get passed on to them that might be the situation we're in. So I don't know what Sinead Diver's doing. I don't know what Lisa Waitman's doing. Sarah Klein, Vanessa Wilson had a blinder over in Berlin last year. You might know more, Adam, if these conversations have happened. But 8.5 weeks out, maybe don't be locked in on that elite field yet, listeners. We could see a big name still pop into that to fill their pockets with potentially $6,000 and make things interesting.
Oh, I love to hear that. And I do know of some discussions around
Yeah.
a couple of those athletes that are going on. Our man, Keith Buzz Hong, who's our competition manager, who's done a fabulous job putting the elite fields together and will manage the whole elite program, like he's done a bit of with Tim Crosby at Melbourne. He's got some amazing runners already. We're wrapped with the elite fields now, but if we had a couple of late dark horses, that'd be epic.
Yeah, that would just add to a bit of the London Marathon did it, actually. They announced their elite field in like 4 parts. So it was like, here's our top UK guys, here's our top elite athletes. Then they said, and here's also Eliud Kipchoge. And then like 3 weeks later, they said, oh, by the way, here's also Kenenisa Bikili. So like Ballarat could do something like that. It could be still 1 or 2 names to pop in here. If people get interested. All those 4 girls could be injured at the moment, and I also have no idea. They could be all in moon boots with stress fractures, but it would be really cool to see one of them on the start line as well. Men's race. This gets interesting as well, because I feel like same thing. There's no real big superstar, but at the same time, I think there's Chase, you got access to this document too, don't you? 6 or 7 boys in this race. Start off.
That's so tight at the top.
Yeah. Start off with Alex Harvey. So he's the fastest in the field, 2:15.58. He's relatively kind of new to running in a way. He absolutely smoked Moose and I up at our Geelong 10K started last year, and then went on to run that 2:15.58 at Valencia. Also ran a super fast time at Murragami half marathon, maybe last year or the year before. Dean Menzies, had him on the show 2 weeks ago, 2:17.41. Kieran Perkins, also 2:17, but he's ran 54 seconds. So here's a quality runner up there in Queensland. You got Jacob Cox, who's the 2:19.03 guy, but ran way quicker than that time represents over the shorter distances. So I'm going to say he ran 13:55 for 5K at the Adelaide Track Classic a couple of weeks ago. I reckon he's probably broken 29 minutes for 10K as well. Always runs quick half marathons in the 64-20 kind of region. So he could come out and run 2:15, 2:16. I wouldn't be surprised. Toby, the bad boy Mende. So Adam, this is one of our employees of the podcast, Toby Mende. And he said he's got 2 goals to me today when we were talking about this race. Number 1, get to the start line uninjured. Number 2, win the race. So his PB is 2:19.11, and he said it doesn't matter what pace it's going out at, he's going to be there. So, and used to live in Ballarat, so don't be surprised to see him. Brad Carterfelt, also 2:19. He is an Olympic triathlete and just a best bloke getting around kind of guy. Is hunting for the Australian 45 plus record. He went over to Valencia to try to break that in December last year and had a shocker, and he'd be out on the redemption path, I think. Brad Carterfelt. So expect something under 2:20 from him. Aiden Hobbs, he's actually ran just over 2:20. This one's ripped him off a bit, saying 2:21.22, but he's ran, I'm going to say 2:20.15. So he desperately wants to become a 2:19 man. And he certainly can. He's one of the best runners coming out of Queensland. And then we've got some guys kind of closer to there's more. There's New Zealander Andy Good, 2:21.38 over in Christchurch. He'll be looking to go sub 2:20. You got Fraser Darcy, 2:21.35, who was second at the Australian Championships in the Sydney Marathon last year. It's come out of nowhere too, really kind of improved. And then there's a whole list of guys between, say, 2:25 and 2:28 who are just going to provide so much depth. Starting to think this could be the most Australian men we've seen run under 2 hours 25, I reckon, in a race.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool, yeah, because, Gold Coast you might get 5, 10, maybe 15. Yeah, this could be Melbourne. Yeah, I reckon I've come top 10 at Melbourne running 2 hours 20ish. Yeah, this could be. I'm just throwing that out there off the top of my head. And if it doesn't, we can just keep moving that number. The most under 228, the most under 232, whatever happens on there, we can make that suit the saying. So, I kind of love this, that it's a chance for a second tier Australian marathoner, not one of the real big dogs who does it for their job, to maybe win $6,000 and get to win, a major Australian marathon, which would be good for their ego and their bank account.
That's it. That's where we're at. We want to put up really good prize money. We understand where we sit in the pecking order. We're absolutely rapt to have this caliber of athlete. And Jason and I have already spoken about it a bit when we go running on Friday morning, about we could just have such a genuine race. It's so exciting to see how they go. And with Steve McKenna, who you're going to have on in a couple of weeks, with his crazy 2 hour 20 pacing mission, it's going to be pretty amazing for people. Yeah,
it certainly is. Well done putting those fields together. Feels like 8.5 weeks can't come quick enough. So good work there. Chase, can we move on to you? Can you tell us about your fitness?
We can, yeah, for sure. You did omit one name from that list.
Oh, myself.
Mention yourself.
Can't go talking about yourself, mate. Get right up on that microphone too. You're a bit quiet on me tonight.
Right, all right. I will. I'll say.
Yeah, you can't go talking about yourself. But I was thinking, Adam, like number one bib usually goes to the defending champion. If the defending champion's not there, does it go to the guy who comes second the year before, or the fastest seed?
Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we've got a little tradition we started last year, which is a one-year tradition, which is we print bib number one and give it to Mona. Yeah.
Fair enough. I no longer want bib number one now that I know that information. But bib two? Can I get bib two off?
You can get bib two. But it's with big Tommy DeCanto. We loved his work last year. Good luck to him in London. As far as I know, he's still aiming for London. Is that as you know?
Rotterdam, I think it ended up getting changed too, but he's injured. He's very good. Yeah, so I don't think he'll be doing either. So, but mind you, Tom's the kind of guy who can shake an injury in 2 weeks, do 3 weeks training, and then come out and run 2 hours 16 and win the thing. So he could probably still appear at Ballarat and go back to back.
Wow, all right, Tommy. Yeah. Come down.
Yeah, he'll be listening. He's one of our shoe geeks on the show, so he'll be listening in. If you're looking for a brilliant running experience this year, then the Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is the event for you. Whether you're a 2 hours 20 marathoner or a 6 hour runner, we invite you to come and try our flat and fast courses. There's just 98 metres of elevation for the full marathon and 49 metres of elevation for the half marathon. Our long races start and finish out front of the historic Ballarat Town Hall, situated on the best preserved Gold Rush era streetscape in the world. In only our second year, we're aiming for the Ballarat Marathon to be one of the most fun and friendliest regional running festivals in the world. We're also striving to be one of the most professional running events on the calendar. Each of our courses has been certified by World Athletic Standards, meaning you can run a Boston or New York qualifying time in Ballarat. This year, the Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is also a qualifying event for the 2026 World Marathon Majors Age Group Championship. And we have a team of 50 pacers who will help you achieve your goal time. On top of that, we're kicking off a new partnership with Athletics Australia, which will mean our elite mile races have now become the Australian Road Mile Championships. Thousands of people have already signed up for our event. If you're one of them, thank you. If you're thinking about signing up, now's the time to do it. Head to ballaratmarathon.com.au today. And the Ballarat Marathon is proudly brought to you by Running Warehouse Australia, Federation Uni, the City of Ballarat, the Courier, Ballarat City Subaru, One Running and Fixed Nutrition. But Jace, give us an update on training. How you going? How's that foot?
Yeah, do you want me to talk about the foot first or go through training first?
Give us a foot update, because I feel like you left us hanging a bit. Like, it was good, you tried to run through it, it maybe wasn't too good, you racked up a few dollars with the podiatrist.
Yeah, that's my big gripe. So I do have a mate that's the physio, so Simon down at Newington's. He is very cheap, so I don't know whether he's just cheap for me, but you get a good rub, you get something out of it, where I feel like I went to the podiatrist and he didn't want to touch it. And I was like, I think I've got plantar issues. And he's like, I think it's your Achilles. Really good guy. But that costs you $200. And he's like, go get an ultrasound. And that costs you $200. and then go back and review the results, and that costs you another $100. It's like $500, and I've found out that I've got plantar issues and I've got my foot strapped. Like, so that the process of it, I went to the ultrasound. They scanned the Achilles that we thought it could have been. There was no inflammation. The top of the foot where the pain was, there was no inflammation. So I was feeling like I was faking it. And then he did go down the bottom and check the plantar, and there's like, what do you say, 25% plantar tear near the origin. So like towards your heel on the inside of your foot. So there's a 25% tear there. They basically strap it up and you're good to go in a sense. Like if you weren't training, like if I wasn't saying I'm going to keep running for the next 9.5 weeks, you'd probably give it a few weeks rest and recover or something. But there's no long-term damage coming from it, from running on it. And it doesn't hurt. Like maybe for the first K this morning, it hurt on the heel, like not on the actual plantar, but once it's warmed up, it doesn't. So it's more a morning and night painful thing, something that you can run through. And there's no long-term impact from keep on running from it for the next 9.5 weeks. So we'll do that. If it gets worse, then the potential of shockwave. So if it's more than a 2 or 3 on the pain scale, podiatrist said come back in and we'll do some shockwave on it and can try that out. It is strapped up pretty well to hold it firm. And then I've tried a few different shoes as well, making sure sort of 8 to 10 mil pitch, which most are these days anyway. And then also just wearing a bit more carbon shoes so they don't flex as much, to try and get that so it doesn't, the plantar's not doing as much work. And then elevation. So it started when I was doing hills, and I more felt it going down hills, but what I probably felt is going up the hill is when you change your gait, and that's having the impact on the foot. So he said keep it to sort of 5 to 10% gradient on hills for now, and like Sturt Street's no greater than that anyway in the race. And then if I want to get that extra strength in the legs, single leg squat, I can do deadlifts, I can do any of those sort of leg exercises, some calf raises, which my calves are quite large anyway. Like, so I've got a lot of range of motion in the ankle, which means my calves sort of stabilize the whole leg. So they're quite large anyway, which I think could be a whole impact in itself. But that's sort of the breakdown of where it is. I'm going to keep running. I feel fine when I'm running. There is notes in here that someone did reach out in the comments, asking how it's going and offering advice, and talking to people in the street. Everyone's like, "How's your foot?"
Yeah.
So
welcome to the podcast world.
Yeah.
Don't go asking for a coach. That's a bad one too. You get a whole lot of people in your DMs offering a coach.
Chris Armstrong's really good. You should just go.
He is good.
I don't know what.
I know he's good. Yeah.
Just grab it.
That's good.
You got Sophie Fit. You got all these people right at your fingertips.
Did it impact training though? Like, did you have to skip anything or modify anything since we spoke last?
All I've changed is I didn't do hills today.
Yeah.
So I did Wednesday hills without the hills. And I still had some elevation in there. It was, recap it, maybe 10 Ks or 11 Ks with 66 meters of elevation, but it was like long hills rather than anything really steep.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep doing that while it feels good.
Yeah. And like some key workouts you've done, or have you got all your training written down there? You want to take us through it?
Yeah, I'll go through quickly. I'll do like any runs that are like, there's a lot of easy stuff in there. I'll just fly through it. But from sort of the last time, it was Friday the 10th is the Monday. It was 30 minutes easy, 5.8 Ks, 5:10 pace. Literally, I just wrote to Chris and said nothing interesting to report. The next day was 50 to 60 minutes easy. So I went 11.6 K at 5:01 pace with the Lakeview crew. Was feeling really heavy-legged on this one. The boys were probably rolling a bit quick, and we did have hills on that map actually. And I'll just let the boys go up the hills a bit quicker than me. The next day, this is still when I was doing hills. So Wednesday hills with the crew from IGA that I go with that got a bit of a gripe because I keep calling the older boys. So they don't appreciate that. They're not that old. So that we did Black Hill up and over repeats. So Black Hill sort of major hill in Ballarat. And pretty central for people to get to. You can run right over the top of it and down the other side. So we're just doing that back and forth. So that run was 0.6K, 5:10 pace, 226 meters of elevation. This was in a recovery week as well. So I went too hard on that one. Had Campbell running. He was doing Port Fairy and he was smashing the hills. And I did get a message from Chris saying, just a reminder, you're in a recovery week and we want to be fresh for next week. So that was noted. The next day was a bit of a workout. So this is Thursday now, the 13th. It was hot and windy. So we have had some hot weather in Ballarat, believe it or not. And there was a bit of wind around that day as well. So this was a workout. It was 3K warm-up and the 6 strides as usual. Then 5 kilometres at half marathon effort. Into 8 lots of 300 meters at 5K effort with then 100 meters walk recovery. So the 5K of effort, I went at 4:27, 4:31, 4:25, 4:29, 4:38. And that last one was fairly tough. So that blew out by about 10 seconds from the others. And then going through at the 300s at the 5K effort pace. So that I get feedback on the watch every kilometre, but I'm not looking for those ones. So I actually felt the third one was slower than that, but it was the quickest. The 300 metre efforts, I didn't sort of get any feedback at all. And I don't know whether paces is easy to talk about because otherwise it's like a minute 12, a minute 14 doesn't make a heap of sense, but it went 4:03 pace, 4-minute pace, 4-minute pace, 3:50 pace, 4:07, 4 minutes, 4:10, 4:07. I made notes that I was a bit underfueled that day. I felt like didn't have a great amount of energy. I was going to work in Melbourne that day as well, so I had to go super early. So yeah, that was the half effort, like the 5Ks at the start was probably the toughest part of the run. I actually really enjoyed the short and sharp stuff. And then I also wrote podcast, didn't record, so added again tonight.
Yeah, that's a late night. People don't understand. We record these outside of hours. That's a PM job. These ones 8:15 at the moment. Like it can knock you around a bit because sometimes it's hard to sleep off the back of a podcast recording.
Yeah, go home and get a chai latte on the way from Macca's or something, and then sit and drink that. So,
come down your performance.
Yeah, I just felt empty the next day. Next day was Valentine's Day. Didn't run. It was a rest day in the thing, but did cop a lot from the boys for not turning up on Friday, I think it was. Then we go to the 15th. Now I think, Adam, you've done a couple of these as well, but Delaney Troon doing the 21-21, so 21 days of going around the lake a few times and cracking 21 Ks. Actually, Clarko has been down there as well, North Melbourne's coach, and I think Play the Locket went down as well, potentially. So I just ran with her because it was meant to be an easy 20 Ks. It was 21 Ks, took 1 hour, 59 and 56 seconds. She's been doing a great job of just getting around that 2-hour mark. And she's actually finishing that up on this Saturday, so that'll be huge. The crowd she's pulling, like when I went there would have been 75 people running with her at that pace for 3 laps of the lake, so it's unreal to see. That takes us into...
Hey, before you move on, though, I just want to ask that pace for you. So like 5:40s, whereas, the other couple of runs, Monday, Tuesday, both at 5:01s. Can you still be in sync at 5:30 pace, the 5:40 pace? Like you still feel like you're locked in. It's not too awkward.
It's not too bad. No, we were talking the whole time, and because it's a big crowd, it probably made it easier. I can't do that on my own.
Why not? Because that's what I was going to ask. If it feels okay and your heart rate's at, I'm looking at your heart rate here. I'm actually logged on your Final Surge, so I can see all your notes and all your comments with Chris here as well. But your heart rate's at 137. It's probably a bit higher on those other ones. It's like, I would be encouraging if it doesn't feel too bad, maybe keep doing a bit more of that.
Yeah, okay. I think, you probably said that episode 1 as well. I've been
trying to tell Croaks that for 8 years, mate, as well. Like, I know it doesn't go into people's heads sometimes.
It is a challenge. Like, I need to be going with someone else, I think, to do that. And even, I'll get to my long run soon, but even then I couldn't slow down. But yeah, my heart rate is probably in the early 140s normally on an easier run, and the pace just seems to be 5 minutes. Like even today, I went out, first K was 5:24, and then from there, I reckon it was 5 minutes. Without that's just, you get in the zone, and that's the pace I go. it would take a real concentrated effort to slow down to sort of 5:40s, 5:30s, around that pace.
Okay.
We'll
Good
see.
excuse. But you've just told me you can do it first, though. We'll get to this Sunday coming up. You can do it, but I'm just not doing it.
Gee, I'm looking forward to that. Feb 17th. So this is the Monday when we're back into it then. So it really ramped up. I actually don't have the week breakdown of the recovery week. I think it was about 67 potentially Ks that week. So Feb 17th, Monday session, I wrote there feeling fresh. It really felt good. I even saw Daniel Hocking, who's a quality runner in Ballarat, and he commented on Strava. It looked like I was cruising around. So I think I really do go well with the Friday off, Sunday off recovery. Like whenever we've had that in the training, I always seem to come up really well. So that's a positive. So I've got, so this was a 3K warm up, then 2 kilometers at threshold with 60 seconds rest, 1 kilometer at 5K effort with 90 seconds rest, and then repeat that again. So you do that twice. I've got notes here that I went a bit quick in the fourth threshold. So the last one of those, it didn't feel noticeably quicker, but it is when so the paces I went, the first 2Ks I went 4:11 and 4:08 pace, which potentially are a little bit quick as well, but like 5 seconds maybe. And then the 1K effort went at 3:50. And then the 2Ks again after the rest went at 4:10. And then the 4:02, that was one that was really quick and it didn't feel that quick, potentially a good thing. And then the 1K I went at 3:49. So, and I wrote, the 5K efforts felt really good in this one. Taxing by the end of it, but felt really good. But yeah, I think I may have done like 7 strides as well at the start, just not being able to count, but it felt great, that one. Then into the next day, wedding anniversary. So again, I missed another session with the Lakeview boys. So it was like 2 romantic days in a row that I missed these runs. So I was really copping it. But I did sneak out for a run in between sort of 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 9.89 Ks, 4:54 pace. So that's that pace that I just sit at. I've got here Shane Pearton. Hopefully that's right. I don't know him, but he's following me on Strava. So no doubt he's listening to this. He was in the comments checking up, seeing how I'm going with the foot and offering it some advice. So that's one of those nice people reaching out. The 19th was hills. Nothing overly spectacular. This one, 13.33 Ks, 5:17 pace, 215 meters of elevation. And then into the 20th of Feb, which is a Thursday, which I ran with Heartbreak Athletic Crew, which is a bit of these much better runners than me that I just sort of go with every Thursday. They do sessions. A couple of them got coaches so we'll do a warm up and a cool down together, but they might do their own session. And then some of the other guys just jump in with whoever session sounds the best. So there's 2 Sarahs, Ryan, it was Mitch Murray's birthday. And then Will was on the bike. So out of all those people, Will and I are probably similar runners. The other is a lot quicker. And the workout was 15 minutes at 10K effort and then 5 by 1 minute at 5K effort. This was 3K warm-up. It was meant to have strides, but I didn't do them. I changed shoes instead. And then we got going. So it was a 3K warm-up, 15 minutes. And then I don't have the pace. Are you still in that final surge there, Brady?
I am, mate. So 15 minutes at 10K effort and then 5 by 1 minute and then at 5K effort. And your paces were, I'm just loading that one now. Oh, you're one of these guys. I tell my athletes all the time, when you're doing time-based workouts, turn off your auto laps. Anyone's got, so when you're doing 15 minutes, I just want to see all the 15 minutes in the one lap. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? So
I know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do it, but
you don't know how to turn your K splits off on your watch. No. You got a Garmin?
Yeah.
You go click. This can be an instructional for anyone listening. You pretty much just click on the run to go into the run, and then there's the 3 little dots. I reckon that's a settings button. Click that, and it will say run settings, and then it will say laps, and then you go in there. It will say laps 1K, and then you click on it, and then just go laps off, because you can change it to anything. So like if someone's doing 2K reps, you can set it at 2K or 5K or, if you're doing 800 meter reps, you can make it 0.8 of a K and it just beeps like that. So I've actually said it before where I've done 400 meter reps in the morning because I don't have a track here. So just run up a straight road for 400 meters and it just beeps to tell me when 400 meters is up. But make sure you turn that off before you go on your next run. Otherwise, your watch is beeping every 400 meters, which you can pause and change it. I've actually realized. So, yeah, but you're looking at 409, 409, 405, somewhere around there. That would be correct.
That
and
sounds
then
right.
got moving in the 1 minute, 349, 341, 349, 340. Yeah, you're flying there.
Yeah, so I think I'm a really quality 5K runner, but I haven't proven that yet with a 1958 or whatever it was. But I try and seem to be, the pace that I find is about 350 pace generally when I'm doing those. The heart rate strap actually broke. I've had a heart rate strap probably as long as I've had the watch, and that's about 5 years. And the glue come apart, so it actually just broke. So the next few runs, ignore the heart rate. I did put here, foot was sensational for the most part. I wore Vaporflies for the workout segment. As I said, the carbon plate sort of will hopefully not allow it to flex as much. I've also got an insole that I had from a podiatrist 12 months ago that I'm using as well that maybe gives it a bit of a lift. But they felt fine. I wore Pegasus for the cool down, and they, as coming out of the Vaporflies into the Pegasus, they felt terrible.
Yeah.
So then I was like, yeah, the Zoom Fly might be the shoe to go to do mileage. That was sort of the notes I made, and I was going to test it the next day, and that's what I did. So running with Adam the next day with the Lakeview crew, 7:39. I did like 7.39 Ks at 4:57 pace in the Zoom Flies, and it felt good. Yeah, so that was the test. And then I've just written down for my notes here, long run. Here we go. So
can I tell people what your coach told you first, though, in his description here?
Yeah, because I didn't read that till after I did it. I read it and then went back and read it and went, oh, God, it just gets worse.
So this is the 32K easy effort long run today. Look to take gels at 7, 14, 21, and 28K. And then I checked. I've seen what happened on Strava, and it sounded like a bit of a death march towards the end, which if you've done your long run easy, that shouldn't be happening. But I'm sure you've had some good learning out of this.
Yeah, definitely. This I've learned a lot. A lot of comments, a lot of people talking to me about it. And so it's fine. Like, obviously, you learn from it. It was warm. I don't know how warm, but it would have been high teens at least, I reckon. Yeah. Went out pretty early, so it's probably just before 7. Ran, people in Ballarat, ran from my house, which is Ballarat North, right up Norman Street. I reckon I went around Limmonth Road, up Ring Road to Cuthbert's Road, which is best part of 10 to 12 Ks to get there, and no drink taps on the way, running with gels, running with no water, and feeling really comfortable. Like, I felt great. So I was doing, I reckon, 4:44-ish pace, which again is not it. Like, in 5 minutes is probably easy pace, and then Brady's saying 5:30 is probably where I should be at. So at about K13, now realising I'm coming down Cuthbert's Road, I'm heading towards Vic Park where there's drink taps, and that's where I was like, all right, I'm going to go and get some water there. But I have to slow down now because I could feel it sort of accumulating, and I'm not going to be able to keep doing this the whole way.
Hang on, remind me before, sorry to interrupt, but remind me, what are we thinking marathon pace will be? 4:30s? Goal marathon pace?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're looking at goal marathon pace being 4:30s, K3, 4:41, 4:46, 4:43, 4:42, 4:42. Like, this is feeling nearly good. Like 90. Yeah, feeling good on a 20-degree day. Like, this is almost like 95% marathon pace. So this is a tempo run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's just the inexperience, really.
Yeah. Which is great. You've learned it 9 weeks out, to be honest. Like, because this is what happens to some people on race day, and then they get to 28K and go, shit, my race is over. Like, what's this pain? I've never felt this before.
Yeah. So, after 13 Ks, I wasn't feeling bad, but I was starting to go, I'm going to need water soon. Getting quite dry, especially after the gels, because they just seem to dry your mouth or like really, I don't know, sticky on the inside of your mouth.
Yeah.
I started getting to the point towards the end of Cuthbert's Road where I'm looking at people's hoses in their yard going, I could just stop and grab a drink. Did run past 7-Eleven. I was like, get a slushie there. Made it to Vic Park. I think I also then just drank too much, and I just think maybe bloated myself. So I had a heap to drink there, ran through Vic Park, still probably traveling not slow or anything, just I deliberately slowed it down around the 13 Ks, ran through Vic Park, got to the lake, kept going. So I did have the gel at 7. I did have the gel at 14. Would have been through 21 that I had another gel, and that was just before the Botanic Gardens or the kids' playground there. There was heaps of runners because Delaney had just finished, and there was another run happening as well. Saw some guys that I knew, so they were yelling out, and still wasn't feeling horrible. Probably got to the other side of the lake, the corner where Adam's talking about putting a band, I think, that top corner. And that's when I was like, I'm not great here. Stopped and had another drink. I started walking. So that's the K. If you look through the splits, there's a K, I reckon, that is a lot slower. I started walking probably 20 or 30 meters before the drink tap and then kept walking after it. Started running again. And that's when I was 500 meters away from MacArthur Street where I could turn left and go home. And if I turned left there, it would have made it a 28K run, which would have been 4K short. That was one option going through my head. The other one was run to Lakeview, just get an orange juice and sit there, and get a electric scooter or something home, or keep going. And I was like, nah, I was when I did this, because I did something similar in Torquay, but I just stopped early. I was like, nah, I was really disappointed afterwards when I did that. So keep running. Got to Sturt Street. There's an IGA there, and I did channel Ella McCartney from the other week and went, no, I'm going in and buying something. So I went and bought a Powerade and probably drank half of that and then kept running, ran down Sturt Street, which is fine. Got to Lydiard Street where it goes uphill. And I was 1K running. Then I would stop for probably 10, 15 seconds maybe, and then go again, do another K until I got home. So I did the last 4Ks, 1K on with about 15 seconds rest. And
this is the hardest thing you should do in your build-up. Lessons to be learned on this one, and the race day should be easier than this if you play your cards right and disciplined and have a good race plan. And this sounds terrible, and I'm kind of glad you got to experience it in a training run and not on race day, because there's plenty of listeners, me included, who the pain you're describing is really shitty, but the pain you also feel at 28, 30, 32K when you get a marathon wrong is that times 10, and it's a terrible experience. Doesn't matter how old the lady is playing a violin or the roundabout or whatever it is, Adam. It's it's not going to get you through it. And Jason's got a little taste of it, but it could have really kicked him in the face in 8.5 weeks' time.
Yeah, and that's it. Really, honestly, it dents your confidence as well. You finish that and go, oh yeah, geez, maybe I'm not anywhere near this. I might be the same as last year, or going around that 3:28 pace. So yeah, it's a real confidence kick, I think. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because I've got to work out tomorrow, and hoping that goes well. Because apart from that, it's been a lot of sort of easier stuff, and just to try and build that confidence up again, I think.
I'm just logging back onto your final surge now, but it's one thing to have the confidence in that workouts that are shorter, a 5K tempo and then 6 by 1 minute, because you can win your way through that. But the marathon's 42.2K. You want to be getting the confidence over these 30Ks and 32Ks. And I'm just thinking, how much confidence would have you had if you did those splits in reverse? Imagine running the first 10K.
Yeah, 100%.
Then the last 4K at 440s. You're like, oh, shit, I'm running 10 seconds off my marathon pace for K 29, 30, 31, 32. You'd be chest pumped out tonight, mate. We'd be starting talking about breaking 3 hours. They can just
that's years away.
Different directions. But no, it's good. You're learning. That's what you're here for. And I really do appreciate your honesty in kind of talking about these things, because it's hard to get on a podcast and read through your training diary. And I was reading your notes, which are you're reading out exactly what you put in your training diary.
Yeah,
There's
cool.
No fluffing around here.
No, I do remember it. I do make those notes. I said to Chris as well, I make those notes to remind myself too, what I was thinking at the time, or how bad I was feeling. And happy to talk about it on the podcast. That's not an issue. But I was thinking when I was coming around the lake and when I was stopping, I'm like, I've got to talk about this on the podcast.
I've got to explain
this isn't just a bad run. This is like, I get to talk about this as well and relive it.
Next level of accountability for sure.
Yeah, it was just
I
good.
do
And
have
plenty of comments on there, like it's all part of the journey. Like it's still solid. Rest up, whatever.
Yeah.
Tim Mann's had a crack, but messaged me privately as well and was fine. But yeah, that's one of those things. Good to experience now.
I do have a whole list of questions I had down to ask you, but we've ran over time tonight, and the questions will still be relevant in the next couple of weeks when I'm on again. So there'll be stuff around your race day shoes, a couple of your learnings, things like that, because our third guest has sat very, very patiently for the last probably 15, 20 minutes, I reckon, or maybe 25 minutes. I told him he was going to be on, but we've got Mark vanHamond. He's the managing director of Equality Support, which I think he's going to tell me more about, but I think it helps the disability sector over there in Ballarat. Welcome to the Inside Running podcast, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Brady.
Thanks for your patience and sitting there and listening. And I was just going to say, you are also signed up for the marathon, so hopefully there was some value in there for you as well.
I've started following Jason on Strava and watching his runs, so it was good listening to that little recap, and was curious to hear a bit more about that 32k effort or whatever it was. So thanks for having me.
I did hear a story, a little birdie told me this one today, Mark, and hopefully I've got it right, because some of the stuff that comes into my inbox is not always correct. But were you recently in the running company Geelong or Torquay purchasing some shoes, getting ready for race day? Yep.
Getting ready. I've got a little injury at the moment, so I was looking for a shoe with a bit more stability. So, went in, Moose was working on a 38-degree day.
That's okay. Service was good?
Service was good. I was wanting the Puma Forever Nitro 2s that, he didn't have in the Torquay shop. So, I wasn't able to walk out of there with a pair of shoes, but I'm sure I'll be back there in the near future.
Yeah. And the relationship with Equality Support and the Ballarat Marathon, tell us more about Equality Support to start off with.
Yeah, so you're right. So we're in the disability sector. So we're based in Ballarat and Geelong. So we're just shy of 200 employees. We get the privilege of supporting people in their home. So in the NDIS world, we partner with someone that owns the building. So they build specialist disability accommodation, and then clients that live there then have a support provider, which is us. So it gives them the choice, control, and independence in what they do to control the people that support them, the house that they live in. We've been around for about a bit over 5 years, and love what we do. We've got some really great people that support people and really help them lead their own lives and choose the path that they want to take.
Yeah, cool. And then how do you find yourself in talks with Adam and Charity and, the Ballarat Marathon? How's that come about?
Well, it was just probably the week leading into last year where one of our providers we work with that owns the accommodation made contact and just said they had a group under Bright Disability Services that they were going to have some people there, and whether like one of the clients that lives in the house that we support might be interested. And in that last week, we were like, yep, Tamika. So I'm not sure if you've seen the promotional video on the Ballarat Marathon socials, but that's where Tamika really quickly said yes. One of her support workers on the day sort of said yes, and then 3 people from the office, and it quickly got to about 8 of us. So we rocked up for the 5K event, and it was just such a great day. Like the weather was turned on. It was a sunny Ballarat day. There was so much energy around. We got to the finish line, so we've gone around the track probably about 60 minutes. Got to the end, and with that success of Ballarat, we got to the end. There wasn't quite enough medals for all of us in that last sort of tail group. So what happened after that was reaching out to the Ballarat Marathon that turned out to be Adam, that then really accommodating, able to get those last couple of medals. As we started talking, it was that next part of it as well that was what could next year be? So it was really quickly, there's some aligned values and interest in that. And then there's probably, 6, 7, 8 months as this continued on that talking about sort of what could be. And so as those talks have progressed on, we got to the point of being able to reach a sort of 3-year partnership, and we really want to drive that inclusion specifically in that 5K event and really look at see what we can partner with.
Yeah. And how many clients you're thinking you'll have out there on course this year?
Well, so we're in the higher needs end. So like I'll say at least half a dozen. So our goal, and it is that inclusion, like in year one thing that was the energy that I didn't expect, that 2 of our staff members had never had a race bib. Like the energy and the pride they had in their race bib, it was the race bib that brought that energy, like not the medal at the end, and wanted to chase up that medal for those staff members, but it was that race bib, and that inclusion is like everyone. So it's not just this client focus, it's the clients, and they bring energy, and then they bring our staff. Then it becomes the office staff. And it is that element that there's not like this hierarchical component to it, that we'll have people across all different jobs at our company. And it's those things, or even as we'll do in the video shoot with Tamika, and they're talking about the medal, and she was like, no, I've already got one. That energy that's driving isn't coming for that outcome. It's that engagement, that participation, that self-pride. And I think it's those parts of it that, so from a company, we'll have, I'm going to say at least 50 people there. We've already got 25 signed up. We've got multiple clients that we haven't put through the registration yet, but will come, which also means that they'll bring a lot of their team that support them at the front line. So we'll have at least 50 people there, and some of our other sort of business-to-business partners. And, really looking forward to that energy that will be on the day.
Yeah, I always used to, before running become cool and every, fun run sold out and stuff, I always used to say, like, finishing lines are the happiest place in the world. Like, the sense that everyone's there for the same reason, and the like the chemical imbalances that are literally changing in your brain with the endorphins. Like, it's such a great place to have, people from all abilities and walks of life to be in the same, location. And I guess you guys would have experienced that firsthand last year.
100%. I ran the half marathon last year, and really, really happy with the time that I did. The highlight of the weekend was the 5K event. It was this real ad hoc last minute get together. And that's where I came back home. So I lived down in Torquay. Sunday night, I was emailing our marketing manager and just saying, hey, this is what's happened. There was 8 of us. What could we do next year? And for us too, it's such an opportunity for companies and people to have like an engagement event. So for us as a company, if we can get 50 of our staff there, the energy, connection, teamwork that will come with it, like, pays back in spades what would be an investment from a company. So those parts, because it becomes a whole collective of group working together.
Yeah. And for like listeners and other participants there on the weekend, like I did when I was filling in my entry, there were a whole lot of charities listed. Like, do you want people supporting and cheering your clients and staff on race day, or is there an option to donate, or like how can people get involved?
And I think for us that it's about not just us or not our clients. It is literally that broad everyone. So There's not the charity element, like we're part of that collective group like everyone else. So there's not that element to it that we're really keen to, that we'll be reaching out to other providers in that Ballarat area, in that disability sector, promoting what we're doing. So we're in a 3-year partnership. So there is this internal focus in year one. There's the test and learn. So we'll be making contact, promoting it, looking for them to do those similar, what they might want to do. So in the lead up to, if we've got other providers that want to, contact us and ask for a bit more detail, we're sharing that. That's not something that we want. There's not those parts. And I think that's the part here as well where, we're like everyone else. On the day, the more people that are there, the better. Stick around, cheer everyone through onto the end. And that's what happened last year as well. So, there's not a need for anything specific or focus through that sort of part, but it is the fact that we have words that we use all the time, like community. And I think that's one of those aligned values with the Ballarat Marathon, is that word of community, that this is, the Ballarat Marathon isn't trying to be the number one highest entrance, marathon, knock off Sydney and become the 8th, have its major. It's that actual case. And I think that's where working with Adam's been fantastic. So I think we do have such aligned values and the passion for what we do. And I think that's what we do. We just want to keep it simple, and we want to just treat everyone equally.
Yeah, very well put. Adam, anything to add there with the relationship before we finish up?
No, it's interesting. This is kind of separate to the, there is this really big charity side to the event, which is run through a platform called Grassroots, which is the same one that Melbourne Marathon uses and Great Ocean Road. People will be familiar with it. And we're really proud to have the Ballarat Health Services Foundation as our charity partner. So Ballarat Health Services Foundation sits at the top of that list of charities in registration, and there's already over 600 people signed up to be fundraisers for Ballarat Health Services, which is amazing. There's a whole raft of other extraordinary charities on the list. So the charity component is really strong. But as Mark explained, that's not what the quality support partnership is about. It's about inclusion. And I loved when you spoke before about that finish lines are the happiest places in the world, because that's where this event came from. That experience I had on the finish line at the Great Ocean Road after running the 14K in 2021, it was that moment that's led to the Ballarat Marathon's creation. And so absolutely, we are really genuine in this partnership with Mark, in that want for the event to be for everyone. I got to speak at a function today, and I said, I know there's this old saying that you can't be everything to everyone, but it's funny, running festivals actually can. Yeah. We can be everything to everyone. We can be an event for you, Brady, to run 2 hours 19, and we can be an event for Mark's clients who are going to take 72 minutes to do the 5K, and everyone's going to go home, having been part of something really special. So that's it. It's awesome to have created something that's bigger than all of us. It's taking on a life of its own, and it is absolutely genuinely for everyone.
Yeah, very well put, fellas. It's been a pleasure tonight. We've got a race director, a marketing director. Chase, what are you again at Federation Uni? You're something marketing as well. I feel
I'm
like
in the marketing team. I am, yeah.
I'm in the presence of 3 very smart guys here, and I've had absolute joy talking, running. I can't wait to see all 3 of you guys over there on the streets of Ballarat. Is there anything I've forgotten? Adam, you got anything you need to leave us with? We probably won't hear from you again between now and race day, I don't think.
No, the key thing is we just so appreciate the support from the running community, from you, Brady, and from all the raft of people across the running community. The support to build this into what it's become already is just amazing. And yeah, we just really appreciate the way you speak about the event and your appreciation for all the work that's gone into building it. It's for the running community, and it'll be another awesome event. And Jace, I love the way you're putting all that training out there and the honesty. It's really cool. And I'm bumping into people in the street going, it's just so relatable. And so it's tapping into a whole nother audience. And thanks for coming on the podcast, Mark. But yeah, Mark, see you all in Ballarat. It's going to be awesome.
What time are we looking at, Mark? Is this your first race? First marathon?
No, so I was up in Sydney in 2023. So that was the first one.
The hot year.
That was 28, yep. So that pain that Jason went through, that I hit that at about the 30K mark, that felt good, got to 21, thought I better back off a notch, and then got to 30, and it was the most painful last 12Ks ever in that space. That did all the research, science said to drop off 10%, I didn't, and paid the price. And then last year was the same, a few little interruptions to wanting to do a few marathons. So the plan is Ballarat and Sydney this year.
Okay.
I'm looking at one here where you were doing, was it 3rd, 4th, and 5th? You were going at 4th minute 30 pace.
Well, you two guys next to each other.
Yeah. Well, I've got to have an MRI.
Well, up at the same time.
Friday. Yeah. So that was coming down off the Sydney Harbour Bridge, though. So that was a downhill 2Ks, I reckon, if you check the elevation out.
Yeah, that's right.
Let the legs just tick over. And again, whether that was a rookie mistake. And I got lost in Centennial Park. I didn't know where I was by that stage of cutting laps, and absolutely no idea whereabouts in Sydney. And then that penultimate K up the hill, back up
out of Mrs. Macquarie's chair.
That is just not. That's mean.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about that at Ballarat this year. There's no hills. It's flat.
Yeah, I was looking to try and go about 320. I'm definitely not shifting that down to the 310 like Jace is planning on.
I'll come up to you.
440 pace.
Could be on here. Keep an eye out, listeners. Thanks, fellas. Right. We'll wrap things up.
Thanks.
Ballarat's world-class road running festival returns bigger and better across the weekend of the 26th and 27th of April. Choose from the full marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K or mile races. Registrations are coming in from all over Australia, so don't delay. Sign up today at ballaratmarathon.com.au.